Hi everybody, so welcome to this first part of 3.1 working with linear equations. This is partially going to be a review, so I want to knock that part out first, and then we'll talk about some new stuff a little bit later on. So the first part of 3.1, like I said, it should be stuff that you're already familiar with. We talked about some of this in chapter 1. So part of this is just reviewing things like what is a linear equation in one variable. So it's things that look like this. So this ax plus b equals 0. You solved a bunch of these in chapter 1. And then also talking about things like what is a solution. So you should know what a solution is. And you determine whether something is a solution by plugging it back into the equation. So just to get us warmed up to do some math here, all I want you to do is actually check for these two here if these are actually solutions. So I'll just kind of move my page up a little bit here. And so what I want you to do is pause the video, hit play when you have checked everything. Okay, so for this first one, oops, let me write in black. So I am going to plug in -1. And I get this will be 5 plus 4 equals 9. So yes, this is a solution. And then for the next one, so this will be 2 times -1 plus 3 equals 1 minus 3 times -1. So this becomes -2 plus 3 equals 1 plus 3. So in the end, this becomes 1 equals 4. And so ultimately what you get is no, this is not a solution. Okay, so that's something that we've seen before, and then just a very quick review of something else that you've already seen would be here in example 2. So you should feel comfortable with already solving something like this, 3x plus 5 equals 20. So how would we do that? Well, you know that we would first start by subtracting the 5, so we get the x by itself, and then that'll give me 3x equals 15. I divide each side by 3 and I get x equals 5. So that would be my solution. And then if I wanted to go back and check it, I would use that technique that we did before. So that is also review. And one more thing that is review was kind of this strange, I say strange because I think a lot of times people haven't seen it before, this strange way of solving equations. So what I want to do is I want to talk about this one more time because I think this is actually it's a very powerful way to think about equations. So it's nice to be able to know how to do things more than one way. And usually when we talk about equations, we just talk about plowing through them and trying to solve them in one way. But what if there was a faster, easier way? So the easier way is not something, a lot of times when people haven't seen it before, they feel like it's not easier. So I want to kind of just keep presenting this because I think the more that you get familiar with it, kind of the nicer and easier it can become. So the idea behind this is, so I've got this red line and I've got this blue line here. So this red line is actually this part of the equation. You can see that it's labeled. This is what that side of the equation looks like. And then I've got this 4x plus 7. That's my blue line over here. So they're both labeled. And so you can use a graph to solve an equation like this. If you are given the graph, you can actually instantly figure out what the solution is. So in this case, the solution is found by looking at the intersection. So here's where my solution will be. And what is this intersection? This intersection is the point -2, -1. So if I go up here, here's -2, here's -1. Okay, so you've determine that point of intersection, and then it's just the x coordinate that would be the solution. So my solution here is x equals -2. Now, a lot of times when I talk about this, people are very skeptical about what this actually means. So what I want to do now is I want you to pause the video and solve this equation by hand, just in the space underneath, and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so I've written out the equation. So the left side is going to equal, sorry about that. The left side is going to equal -2x minus 5, and the right side is going to equal 4x plus 7. Okay, so now to continue solving this, I'll just go ahead and add 2x over here, and if you went in a different order, that's okay, you'll still get to the same answer. So this will be -5 equals 6x plus 7, and then I'll subtract off the 7, so now I get -12 equals 6x. And then you divide both sides by 6, right? And I get x equals -2. And check it out, -2, that's what we said the solution up here was. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the graph can be very, very handy and a very quick way to actually solve something if you have it in front of you. You will always be given the graph for now, and later on we'll actually talk about how to do the graph or make the graph. But for now, I just want you to know how to actually interpret this. So this is a totally viable way of solving equations. Hopefully I have convinced you of that. But if not, let me try to convince you one more time. So I want you to pause the video, find the point of intersection, and determine what the solution would be from the graph. So here, my point of intersection, so you might have to kind of look up on the scale here. So I come up here, here's 2 and -3. So this is the point 2, -3. So my solution should be x equals 2. So now what I want you to do is solve this equation in the space below and hit play after you have solved it. Okay, so I'm going to work this out too. So the left side is going to become, let's see, 3x minus 9, and then if I distribute here, this becomes 9 minus 6x. So let's see, I'll go ahead and I'll add 6x to this side. This is 9x minus 9 equals 9, and then I'll add 9 over to the other side. So I get 9x equals 18. Divide each side by 9, I get x equals 2. And was that what we found in the graph? Yep, it was, right? So x equals 2 down here, x equals 2 over here. So we're all good to go with this, so we can see that the graph is totally a viable way of solving equations. So it's not about like that you always have to do that. It's just nice to kind of present the other options because it can be very powerful, which we'll talk about as we go on through the chapter. Okay, so the next page, so as probably some of you know, I am the author of this book, and this was a new section that I wrote, and I apparently made an error in this, so sorry about that. So I actually think this is probably a good place to stop this video, and then we'll continue on in the next video, so I'll see you in the next one.